You can think of it as bringing corporate social responsibility to independent restaurants, franchise-owned restaurants, large chains, to bring the customer in to involve them.
Welcome to the Bourbon Friday Show, where every Friday we take a short break, try a new bourbon, and meet someone awesome from the St. Louis startup scene. I'm your host, Nick Niehaus, and today I'm interviewing Andrew Glantz, who's the founder and CEO of GiftAMeal. So Andrew, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for being here. So why don't we just start off with what is GiftAMeal?
Yeah. So GiftAMeal is a mobile app, and each time you take a photo at a partner restaurant, we help provide a meal to someone in need in the community.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. So restaurants are paying us a monthly fee to be on the app, which is where the revenue comes from. And then with each photo, we make a donation to a food bank, and they distribute food to local pantries.
Really? That's amazing. Okay, so this sounds like really simple. So normally I have to ask a lot of detailed questions to understand things. But so it's an app, people take pictures. Is there a purchase necessary, or kind of walk me through the process? They download it, and what happens next?
So you download it, you walk into the restaurant, you take a photo. We use location to make sure you're actually at the restaurant.
Okay, that's good.
And you take the photo, confirms your location, and it posts to your GiftAMeal profile on the app. And then if you want to share that photo on Facebook or Instagram, we give a second meal as well.
Really? Okay. Yeah. Very awesome. So for the restaurant, tell me, obviously they sign up to participate in this.
Right.
Is this, is it a marketing technique for them? Is it just trying to give back? I mean, what are kind of the mentality for the restaurant?
It's a mix of both.
Okay.
So you can think of it as bringing corporate social responsibility to independent restaurants, franchise-owned restaurants, large chains, to bring the customer in to involve them. So through bringing the customer in, we're looking at a way to re-engage the customer in a way it's going to provide a return for the restaurant.
Sure.
So it's a marketing expense for the restaurant.
Okay.
And hopefully people will use GiftAMeal to find socially conscious businesses. So we'll drive traffic there.
Cool.
And then we've seen that customers that use GiftAMeal end up being more loyal customers and tip more and things like that.
That's awesome.
So it's really helpful for the restaurant.
Yeah, I was looking at some of the stats regarding that on the site, and it seems like this actually has a pretty substantial impact for the restaurants.
Yeah, we've seen that on average, when restaurants have given us access to payment data so we can see all this data, that customers that use GiftAMeal are spending 24% more per check.
Wow.
Return 45% more frequently, and tip 14% more.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, it was funny. We were talking with one of our restaurant owners, David Kirkland's of Turn Restaurant. Actually, a gentleman over there I was talking to before the show mentioned he was at Turn and saw one of our table tents. And David mentioned that customer one time, they said it's actually a couple times, saw the GiftAMeal table tent and had already eaten all their food, and they wanted to take a picture of something pretty, and so they ordered an extra dessert as well. And,
really?
So that's cool. It's unintended value to the restaurant.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, so I always like hearing about the background of the business, obviously. So tell me about how you came up with the idea and kind of how you got things up and running.
Yeah. I came up with the idea while I was a student at WashU.
Okay.
So originally from Los Angeles, then came out to WashU. I had an internship at a venture capital firm, and that's how I was exposed to the startup scene. Okay. And I was on a lunch break at a local Italian restaurant and noticed that they had really good food but not a lot of customers, and I wondered why. And I was talking with the other intern when we were on the lunch break there, and we started talking about how people discover restaurants and services like OpenTable and Yelp, and the problems associated with them. And we were also talking about the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge and how businesses are giving back, and kind of one thing led to another, and we combined these different trends happening with food photography, millennials making purchases based on their values, and restaurants struggling to reach customers in a sustainable way, and combine that to come up with GiftAMeal.
Yeah, that's amazing. So obviously working with some existing trends, right? So one of those that I'd like to ask you a little bit more about is obviously this idea of companies having more of a purpose, right?
Yeah.
So traditionally, obviously, a company's all about making money, right? And there's a little bit of a pushback against that in the country in particular right now. So is that kind of part of the mission, obviously, is helping businesses do that? And it sounds like that's resonating quite a bit, right?
Yeah, and I think along with that, we're not just trying to help the restaurants with that. That's also how we're structured. So GiftAMeal is a for-profit company that's looking to prove that you could be for-profit while also giving back.
Gotcha.
So we look at it as a profits with a purpose company, or doing well while doing good. There's a lot of different labels you could prescribe to it. But yeah, we want to help the restaurants be able to make money while also feeling that sense of connection to the community and making sure that they're helping the community their customers are a part of.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I know you talked about being for-profit. So
Right.
one thing I want to get into a little bit is kind of the difference between a for-profit approach versus a non-profit approach, right? Because I think we're starting to see sort of maybe a blending of the mentalities with some of these newer companies. Why be for-profit? So why not start this kind of business as a non-profit?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that it's feasible it could work as a nonprofit, but in order to reach the scale that we wanted to, a for-profit really is the way to go.
Sure.
And I am very passionate about showing that there could be existing that model of profits with a purpose.
Okay.
I also think that being a for-profit has some advantages where you're able to raise money through investors, attract good talent by offering equity and things like that. And,
sure.
And also, I mean, from just the perspective of what I was wanting to build, I wanted to build a venture-backed startup that could scale nationwide.
Okay.
And I thought that being a for-profit was the way that I'd be best able to accomplish a widespread impact.
Interesting. So did you come at this from a standpoint of, I know I want to start a business at some point, and then kind of add the cause, or did the cause kind of come first? What's maybe it's the core motivation for you?
Yeah. So when I started the very initial idea for GiftAMeal, it was mainly trying to solve the problem in the restaurant industry.
Sure.
And then we were going to commit to give back a portion of our profits.
Okay.
And then a few months in, we incorporated it into the core business model where it's the take a photo to give a meal. Before it was restaurant recommendations focused and cash rewards.
Okay,
for users.
gotcha.
So it was a bit different with the original model. But we had that purpose of giving back a portion of profits. But then when we pivoted to the new model, that was when I was really passionate about saying, okay, we're not just doing something on the side, we're actually going to have this be a part of the core identity of the company.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I'd imagine, that's important because I've seen, there's a lot of existing companies that kind of do this. Oh, we're going to give 5% to a certain charity, or even you can pick the charity and we'll give it to them.
Right.
Obviously a good thing,
right.
But still kind of feels like a marketing ploy, right? Versus kind of building it into the mission. It actually becomes completely tied into how the business operates. So
absolutely.
I don't know if I have a question there. That was just a side note, right? But
yeah.
So tell me a little bit about the process of starting a business like this, right? Because I know you were at WashU not too long ago, right? So relatively recent graduate. So once you had the idea, kind of what happened after? So I know you had a little background in venture capital, right? So you probably had a couple connections, but kind of where'd you take it from there?
So savings put in to start the company.
Okay.
And with that first model that I mentioned, where it was cash rewards for recommendations, that failed in about 3 months.
Okay.
And so that
so
was
let me ask you a quick question there.
Yeah.
How did you decide to fail? Was it just not working at all, or did you
we
have
were
certain
getting
metrics you were
0 to 1 downloads a month,
Okay.
and the people that were using it just were not active users, and we realized there were a whole bunch of things that we just didn't even consider. There was delayed gratification instead of instant gratification. We had to wait for a friend to use a recommendation to get a reward of any degree.
Gotcha.
The impact wasn't enough. The cash just wasn't a big incentive for a lot of the people using the app.
Okay.
And so it was just something that wasn't working for us. And that was one of my biggest mistakes, is that we didn't really test it out in a minimum viable product. We built out a fully working, fully featured app and realized people didn't want it. So that was rough. But then a few months in, that was when we realized it wasn't working. So the question was, do we scrap it and go back to being students, or do we pivot? And so that was when we came up with the idea about GiftAMeal being something where it's the take a photo to give a meal aspect to it.
And how did you come up with that idea? Was it just...
So that idea was generated through kind of the discussion of the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge and things like that.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Cool.
Looking at Tom's Shoes and some of these other influences. And then we raised a Kickstarter campaign since we'd already spent savings. And raised some money through Kickstarter to fund the app development for the changes to the new model. Then we did a series of grants to go from there. And as we built it up, we literally just looked for app developers through talking to people and getting references. Founded an LLC by just going to the Missouri Secretary of State website and just kind of tried to be scrappy.
Cool. Well, and I know obviously this pivot sounds like it worked because you had a stat you gave me earlier. If you want to tell us how many meals you've been able to generate now.
Yeah, so we just hit 200,000 meals provided, which is about
200,000. Wow.
Yeah, that's about 250,000 pounds of food provided.
That's amazing. Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
Cool. So that worked out really well, and obviously you've been getting a lot of accolades. Won some awards recently. So I know you got an Arch grant.
Yeah.
With Startup Connection, you guys won some of the biggest prizes there. So that's pretty exciting. So kind kind of, what do you see as next? I know you guys are in a few cities, and obviously, growth is continuing to come. So are you primarily in St. Louis at this point, or what does the scope look like?
So we're primarily in St. Louis, then we're also in Chicago and Detroit.
Okay.
And we're looking at solidifying the cities that we're currently in, as well as we're hiring right now to get more people onto the team, so we have the bandwidth to grow.
Okay.
So we're hiring someone for a VP technology role.
Okay.
We're also, in a couple months, we'll be hiring for sales as well to get more restaurants on board. And,
awesome.
So right now we're looking at both building up the restaurant base in these markets, so looking at how we can get in the door with more restaurant owners.
Okay.
And then we're also looking at potential larger scale partnership opportunities to scale, whether it's with food distributors, food suppliers, looking at the delivery apps, things like that.
Gotcha.
These players that already have relationships with the restaurants that could have synergies with us.
Interesting. Yeah, so I'd imagine, it sounds like you don't necessarily compete with a lot of the existing marketing solutions, or like you said, the delivery apps.
Right.
So there are probably a lot of potential partnerships. Are there any in particular that you think are the best kind of fit for you that you might be trying to attract?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the food distributors out there, like the US Foods and Cisco's of the world, Dot Foods, they're looking at how to differentiate themselves and looking to add some value-added services to their partner restaurants. And so looking at a way to offer GiftAMeal to those restaurants could be a big value add for them. Cool. As well as looking at the delivery apps. They have a lot more orders for restaurants that have pictures of food. And so there could be a partnership there where the restaurant that's a part of DoorDash and GiftAMeal, the restaurant on DoorDash's profile is going to have all the photos taken from GiftAMeal on there as well. And
very cool.
Kind of having that combination of in-restaurant dining data with out-of-restaurant dining data for delivery to get the most curated recommendations to users to help them find the best restaurants. There's a lot of different potential there. So whether it's across food distributors, delivery apps, food discovery, there's a lot of potential.
That's great. Okay. Are you trying to raise money at the moment as
well?
No,
so we closed an $165,000 round just a couple months ago.
All right, so you missed your chance to get in at this point. I'm sure
as a startup, you're kind of always fundraising.
Right?
So, down the road, we'll probably raise more, but we just won the $50,000 Arch grant.
Yeah.
And won, I think, like $12,500 at Startup Connection, like you mentioned. And so not flush with cash, it's still staying
it's
lean.
a startup, right?
Right, exactly. And that's going to be spent on these new hires that we're having. So.
Very cool. Okay, so if somebody's interested in one of those jobs, how do they get a hold of you?
Email me at andrew@giftameal.com.
Okay.
Yeah, it's also on our website, giftameal.com/hiring, to read more about them.
Easy enough. Okay.
Yeah.
And so for there's a couple different types of people we're trying to attract here, obviously. So for the restaurants, if they're looking to sign up, do they just go to the website as well, or what's the process for that?
Yeah, giftameal.com/business is where they could read about the impact that GiftAMeal can have for their restaurant. And they could also email me at andrew@giftameal.com. And we've had some of our users or just people in the community connect me to restaurant owners in the past, which has been awesome. So if anyone out there knows any restaurant owners, feel free to shoot me an email at andrew@giftameal.com and connect me. That'd be awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you have any rules? Is any restaurant allowed to participate? Is there any, limits in terms of categories you're looking for? Is anybody in St. Louis it's open to them? Or?
There's no limit based on categories.
Okay.
It would just kind of be at our discretion if we didn't think a restaurant was a good fit.
Okay.
Either just for whatever reasons about the restaurant's branding, if it wasn't a fit for ours.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
And then obviously for anybody that wants to use it, they just go download it and they just go ahead and sign up that way.
Free to download on iOS and Android.
Cool. Very awesome. All right. Well, I want to take one more minute, before we get to the end of the show here, and ask you a little bit about the growth again, because I think obviously switching, we have a lot of people that watch the show that are interested in starting businesses. And so there's kind of two things, I hear there. One is recognizing that you need to pivot and doing so quickly and then going, straight into the new thing. And the other thing is when it starts to work, how to maximize that momentum. So maybe we'll just start there for a second. Is there anything you did after you made this pivot and you started to see, okay, this is getting traction? Because I'm sure you got some, versus what I was doing, this is working better. What did you do to accelerate things after that?
Yeah, I think that before you're looking at the acceleration, I think it's important to make sure you're tracking the right metrics.
Sure. Okay.
And
good point.
that way, whenever you run an A/B test or add a new feature, you can measure to see if it's actually having the right results for you.
Okay.
Whether it's in terms of new features or in terms of sales or anything like that, you want to try it out, see what it's going to be like. And in terms of sales or marketing, you're looking to try to create these knobs that you can turn up. So basically, if you know X number of dollars input is going to get me Y number of restaurants output or Z number of users and downloads on the app. You want to be able to have that measuring. So whether it's knowing how effective Google AdWords is, or LinkedIn ads, or flyering, or whatever it is, or through different partnerships, that way you can just turn that knob and put more money in and have the increased results for acceleration.
Gotcha.
And also just kind of knowing what the best channels are and getting the feedback from your customers as you accelerate.
Very cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you find anything in particular that worked especially well for what you're trying to do? Like, was there any channels that worked better than others for you?
Yeah, I mean, the best channel has just been using our existing user base and
Sure,
restaurant base.
so you probably get a lot of word of mouth, right?
Yeah. So we got through somebody just in the St. Louis community connected us to Schlafly, and then Schlafly joined, and then they introduced us to Gerard Kraft, and then he signed up his 4 restaurants. Then having Gerard Kraft behind us, then got us some more, and
sure.
So it's kind of the cascade effects, especially because the industry is pretty close knit.
Awesome.
So to other startups out there, I'd say identifying who are the influencers of the customers out there, and trying to get them and secure their support, so then that way you can prove validation and accelerate a lot faster.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
And then kind of my final question for you before we bring Eric on
Yeah.
would just be, so obviously with your model, it allows an existing company to kind of add a social component to what they're doing without having to build it into their business, right? Would you recommend, do you think that that's how companies should be going about this, is kind of using partners to add this to their business versus actually kind of changing their entire own business model? What's your feelings on that?
It's an interesting question. I think it depends on the case.
Okay.
I think in a lot of cases it makes sense for a business to focus on its core competency.
Sure.
And you don't want to add anything in that's going to be a distraction from that.
Okay.
But in that case, that makes sense to partner with somebody else.
Okay.
So I think that businesses should evaluate the social good component as a business opportunity as well, if they're a for-profit company, and evaluate, is it going to make a bigger impact if we do it ourselves or if we partner with a company that specializes? And then going from there. But I think there's a lot of ways to do social good rather than just straight donations.
Sure.
And a lot of companies are incorporating different unique practices. So
Lots
to learn from other companies out there too.
Cool. Well, Andrew, thank you so much.
Yeah.
We got a couple minutes left, so we're going to go ahead and invite the founder himself, Eric, onto the show.
Perfect.
And he's going to introduce the bourbon we're drinking this week.
Awesome.
So, inadvertent Innovate Giving reunion.
I was going to say, I mean, the two of you have met before, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we have Russell's Reserve single barrel.
Okay.
And while you might not be familiar with this, that's made by Wild Turkey. It's actually named for the 2 master distillers, Jimmy and Eddie Russell. A couple years ago, they started a program called Wild Turkey Gives Back. This year, it was to first responders in Texas because Matthew McConaughey got involved with them, and they did this whole thing, and he wanted to help Texas out. But last year, they actually gave out 4,500 turkeys to Lawrenceburg, Kentucky residences, that's where Wild Turkey is located. They also gave 500 to the local food pantry, and in addition to that, they gave 50,000 Thanksgiving dinners to share our strength program. So I thought this was kind of an appropriate. We also like to feature like corporate partners, good corporate citizens, that kind of thing on the show. So I thought that pretty apt for this.
That's very cool.
Yeah, that works pretty well, I'd say. Yeah, Eric always has a way of tying the bourbon into the guests. So
I like it.
I always appreciate what he comes up with. That's a lot of work. So, Eric, obviously, we want to ask, you got any updates in terms of we're into a new year, right? So, any exciting things coming up in the startup scene here?
Next week, I believe on the 9th, we have the first Startup Grind event. It's Startup Grind is a large organization, but it's the first. They've now come to St. Louis. Our friend Christian Johnson, who used to be part of part of the show. He is like their ambassador here, and he's putting on the first one here at T-Rex on the 9th. We'll put links in the comments for that.
Okay.
And then on the 15th, I think, is the next Sales Mentor, which is a sales training, sales workshop, and it's only $20. Great
I went to the first one. It was awesome.
It was awesome. It was amazing. So.
Very cool. And just a quick plug, because that's the guest for next week. So
Yes.
make sure to tune in to learn about that in the show and then attend the event. That'll be great. Anything else we should make note of?
I don't have anything right now.
That's
Sorry,
it for now.
I've got a little bit of a cold.
I know, getting over
a little bit of
sickness,
cold.
so.
Luckily, I'll call cough suppressant. So
that's true. Good. Yeah, you haven't coughed yet, so it worked out. All right. Well, that kind of brings us to the end of the show. Eric, obviously, thanks for always joining us. Andrew, appreciate you being on the show.
Absolutely.
Great conversation. Also, awesome mission. So please go download GiftAMeal. Will definitely be worth it. For those of you tuning in, we're excited to be back. Took a couple weeks off for the holiday break. This is the Bourbon Friday Show. We stream every Friday at 4:30 here at T-Rex. So thank you to T-Rex for hosting us. Thank you so much to EQ St. Louis for putting the show on and streaming us through the Facebook page. And then also, of course, thank you to Vanessa Lobo, my business partner at Connect Marketing, for doing all of our production. So thank you for tuning in this week, and please join us again next Friday for the Bourbon Friday Show.
Hey, thanks for watching. We truly hope you enjoyed it. Please like and share this episode, and if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. It really helps us out. To stay up to date, follow us on social. We are at Bourbon Fridays on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok. See you next time.